So who made God? That's always the question. It's a great question. God is not afraid of your questions. Who made God? If God made the universe, then who made God? No one made God. God lives forever. He has always been. You said, but Wes, you said that every effect must have a cause. If God's an effect, then he must have a cause. No. That's not what I said. There's a first cause exclusion. In other words, at some point, we have to get to the point where there's just something that started everything that never started itself. It just is. All right, that's deep. You ready? You ready? We're going to go deep for a minute. Okay? God lives forever. No one made him. How does that make any sense, Wes? There you go, you Christians again, just making up stuff so you can believe in this fairy tale book of yours. It makes logical sense. We're not even going to look at the Bible right now. We're not going to look at the Bible right now. Why does it make sense? Here's why it makes sense. You ready? We can't go back in time forever. In logic, this is called an infinite regression. Going backwards means regression. Infinitely, going back forever and ever and ever and ever. That doesn't make any sense. Let me give you an illustration. All right, your mother had you, and her mother had her, and her mother had her, and her mother had her. Can you go back like that in time forever? I mean, does it make sense that you just, one person keeps having another person, keeps having another person? That doesn't make any sense. At some point, you have to stop. Someone simply has to live. Someone simply has to exist. Do you see that? It doesn't make sense that you can keep going back. Let's look at the galaxies. Let's say this is a universe. We say, well, Wes, this universe was spawned by another universe. First of all, remember the first question I asked you? How do you know that? How do you know that? Well, let's just take it and let's deal with it. This universe was spawned by another universe, was spawned by another universe, was spawned by another universe. That never really answers the question, does it? Can you go back in time like that forever? You actually can't. That's an infinite regression. It's impossible. Someone must simply exist. Someone must have the power of life within themselves. They were not created. They can never die. They simply are. They live. That's what makes sense. Now, can I explain to you how something can just live? I can't explain it to you. But I also can't explain to you how the earth can sit in space on nothing. I can't explain that to you. All right, well, here's the interesting thing. In the book of Exodus, so let's go back. All right. God creates in 6 days. He calls Abraham. Abraham has Isaac. Isaac has Jacob. God changes Jacob's name to Israel. Israel has 12 sons. They have children. They end up in Egypt. You remember that? Joseph goes over to Egypt. He's sold as a slave by his brothers. He goes over to Egypt. He becomes second to Pharaoh. He interprets the Pharaoh's dream, and he brings all his family to Egypt. Do you remember that? Oh, that's a lot if you don't know the history of Israel. But the history of Israel is in the book, Basic Bible Christianity, if you want to know that. All right. So God comes and he calls a man named Moses. And Moses tries to deliver the people, and they don't want it, so Moses goes out in the wilderness. Do you remember that? And he meets Jethro, his father-in-law, he meets his wife, and he lives for 40 years. And Moses is out tending the sheep one day, and somebody speaks to him out of a bush. Moses, take off your shoes. The ground you're standing on is holy. This being who holds the universe in the span of his hand has decided to come near and speak. And there is a bush that's burning, but it's not being consumed. By the way, that is what will happen to all unrepentant souls in hell. You will burn, but you will never be consumed. And he says, here's what I want you to do. You're going to go back to Egypt and you're going to deliver my people. And Moses is like, oh no, you got the wrong guy. I can't speak. Well, they're not going to listen to me. So Moses asked God a question. I don't know why Moses asked this question, but he asked it. He says, okay, when I go back to Egypt, who do I tell them sent me? What is your name? And what does God say? I am that I am. Tell them I am has sent you to them. When you look up that word I am, it's Yahweh. And you know what it means if you looked it up? It means the existing one. Now that is crazy. If the Bible's not true, I don't understand how think about it, these people were in Egypt, the land of many gods, for 400 years. And then they say this being came to them. See, these people are immersed in all of these different gods. And then they go, he came to me, and when you ask him his name, what did he say? He said, I am. I'm the existing one. And you know what? What did we just deduce from logic? We said you can't go back in time forever. Something has to have the power of existing. And the first thing God says when you want to know his name, he says, I am. He gave him the very core of his nature and his name. I am. Oh, and there was this carpenter from Nazareth. Remember him? 30 years old. And they said, you're not even 50 years old. How do you know what Abraham saw? Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am.